Hello, everyone. We'll get started in just a moment. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our Innovative Solutions Roundtable. We have Nuance Dragon Speaks Recognition with our presenter, Tom Vane. Tom, take it away.
Great, thanks. So, welcome everybody. Thank you for joining. My name, as just introduced, Tom Vane. I'm a sales engineer with Nuance. No one really knows what that title ever means. I'm the kind of the tech guy around here. Today, I'm going to show you kind of Dragon anywhere and everywhere, right? Speech recognition at your voice, right, instead of your fingertips. I won't bore you too much with too many slides today, but I wanted to talk a little bit about telling your story with Dragon, using speech recognition to accurately input your notes, your details, your thoughts, everything that you need to document that case or that incident. So the best way I can kind of explain this, because we have a myriad of solutions that involve speech recognition, is kind of breaking this down into acts, where certain flavors of Dragon might be used, where others might not be used. But at the end of the day, it's all speech recognition. You're talking, it's typing. Think of Dragon as another keyboard you use with your voice instead of your fingertips. You simply point, you click, and you speak. There's a little more to it than that, as I'll show you in today's demonstration, but from a high level point of view, it's just point, click, and speak. So, in this first act, we're going to talk a little bit about our Dragon Professional Dragon Anywhere mobile solution. So in this case, let's say you're on scene and all you have with you is a cell phone, right? How do we accurately create notes using that? So in this scenario, let's imagine we have a property boundary with damage dispute with verbal threats heard by the neighbors that you get called out. And after you handle that dispute, on your way back to the vehicle, you can create verbal notes while they're fresh in your mind using your mobile phone, just dictating your notes. The challenge here is you have to think on your feet during a chaotic environment, have to be able to convey your thoughts into something legible, and you have to do that quickly before you have to go to the next call. So with Dragon, what we're seeing being used is speech recognition, not only to collect your thoughts, to have them fresh in your mind, to be able to create that level of detail by speaking them out instead of just trying to do shorthand because you're on to the next call that quick. You're able to voice this information to Dragon quickly and accurately, and even use standardized forms, right? Different forms that you can insert to make sure you're collecting the right data based on the type of incident that you're responding to. So you're going to see these examples of forms in my demonstration today, but being able to quickly and accurately input that information is really valuable to you. Now, kind of switching gears here a little bit, let's change that report, right? Creating a more narrative style report back in vehicle. This is actually what I'll be showing you today out of Dragon Law Enforcement, the more offline version of Dragon, where all the recognition is going to happen where Dragon's installed. So in this challenge, you're in vehicle. You don't always have an internet connection. You don't have a lot of wiggle room to move around, right? You're wearing enough equipment as it is to try and turn and type at the same time is not really ideal. So you're heading back to the office, or whether you're parked out trying to get reports done, again, before your next call, how do we open our RMS and put notes directly into it? If we need to look up a plate, can we look up a plate by our voice? This is where Dragon really comes into play because of the challenges in creating a report. You guys are creating these reports all day, every single incident, every single touch point. It needs to have some kind of note about it. How do we speed that up using our voice? Because typically we can speak 3 times faster than typing. Average typing speed is around 40 to 45 words per minute. And if you attended the session earlier today from Boulder County, they talked about their pilot results, and they got around 120 so words per minute. So they're getting 3 times faster typing speed just by using their voice. Not to mention the extra detail that they're getting by dictating their reports. People are more likely to tell the story than they are to type the story. So we understand this challenge, and using Dragon and all of its features, you can still access those same kind of forms across all the platforms, whether you're using a mobile device or your desktop or laptop or MDT or MDC. So in either regard, you'll see that the story is really the same no matter which act that I present you. I have a report to finalize. I still have notes to create. I remembered something about this incident. I'm going to pull up my report, fire up Dragon, and dictate directly into it. So again, I don't want to bore you guys with slides, but I think the product really speaks for itself, pun intended. So really, what I'm going to be presenting on my screen today, you're going to see two things. One is this little black bar at the top of my screen. This is Dragon itself. This is what you see when it's open. It'll act as your heads-up display or user interface for Dragon. It's where you access Dragon's different menus and features. Most importantly, you can tell if it's listening to you or not. It doesn't involve active listening, not like Alexa or Siri, where you're going to tell it to wake up and start listening to you, and it's just going to hear you in the background. It only listens when you tell it to. Now today, I will be using what's called a power mic, this little handheld microphone, but Dragon itself is really bring your own device. If you have a microphone that you already like using, use that, that's fine. You don't have to go out and get professional grade studio recording equipment to use Dragon. Simple $35 headset will do, and that's not a minimum. You don't have to get real pricey, but we are seeing, especially in a more patrol involved role, this handheld microphone is really hitting the mark just because you can kind of drop it and go rather than being tethered into your vehicle. But the Dragon bar is a really easy interface that you can move around your screen, but Dragon itself, as I mentioned before, is going to operate just like your keyboard does. So when you're looking at my screen right now and you're seeing this Nuance Law Enforcement, this little fake RMS, you might be wondering, is this a part of Dragon? It's not. It's really just a simulation. Really, wherever you have the cursor, where you normally point, click, and type, instead, now you're going to point, click, and speak. And Dragon puts the text wherever you happen to have the cursor. So as far as learning something new here, you already know how to talk. Now you can talk to your computer. So don't feel like this is a part of Dragon. This is just a simulation, as I just mentioned. Really, just imagine your application here, whatever your RMS, your CAD, or if you like to use Word, or if you're just simply writing an email, as long as you click there, Dragon's going to put the text there as well. Let's give you a couple of different examples here. So I'm going to just start out with some free speech. Where I start talking, it's going to type. I'm going to create a simple auto theft call report, and you'll see that kind of being built as I dictate. So I put my cursor in my document where I want the text to go. I enable my microphone, and if you're wondering how I'm controlling it, I'm just using my thumb, just like I would a radio, right? Just kind of push to talk. So for example, here I can say things like, on November 2nd, 2020, at approximately 0900 hours, Officer Butler responded to an auto theft call at 3rd Street and Jackson Avenue, period. The victim, Randall Coleman, explained that he parked his vehicle at the Interstate Blood Bank parking lot while attending the University of Memphis basketball game, period. Delete passable. So I'm actually glad that kind of happened. I started a little bit. There was an extra word put in there. If there's a simple mistake, there's a simple correction to be made. So in this case, I just simply told Dragon what I intended. Delete such and such word. I can go back and make corrections. I can change capitalizations. We call these commands, telling Dragon to do something versus type something. So not only can you have your text written out, you can edit and control the text by voice as well. But on that same note, we don't make you sit on your hands to dictate, right? We don't cuff you in order to dictate. You can still use your hands. We often say Dragon's best used alongside of your keyboard and mouse, right? Everybody's going to use it at their own capacity, whether they're just going to use Dragon to write out their notes and then go back and do manual corrections, fix it up, or they want to use their voice. They can use a combination of all of that. So I can go back and quickly edit my text by voice as well, saying something like capitalized Interstate Blood Bank. Coleman advised that when he returned from the game, he noticed his vehicle along with the attendant were missing, period. We put a bolo out for both the attendant and the vehicle, period. So bolo, I believe, might be a built-in word, but I want to talk about this, how speech recognition works. So a lot of people assume that the way speech recognition works is that Dragon's matching their voice to words it has in its, sorry, that is how it works. They imagine that it's actually making up the spelling based on how they pronounce it. But that's actually not true. Dragon, as I just mentioned, kind of gave away here, is that Dragon is matching your voice to words it has in its vocabulary. Just to bring up Boulder again, we actually customized their vocabulary based on officer names, frequent flyer names, right? If there's somebody that they're constantly writing reports about, let's add their name into the vocabulary. And that can all be done on the back end for the officer, deputy, or whoever's going to be using this, or detective. But you can also add your own vocabulary through the software. So Dragon's not just making up the spelling, but it's matching it to your voice, but it's easy to add words. Not only just telling Dragon that that word exists, but also if it's spoken differently. So if you have a complicated name, let's say Stephen Hercash here, where his name has more consonants than vowels, then let's go ahead and let Dragon know how that's specifically said. So in this case, I can say it's said as Stephen Hercash. Again, this can be done in the software itself, or it can be done on the back end by the administrator. You can even train the specific vocabulary to your voice. Adding in street names is valuable. Any acronyms that you guys use, industry-specific terms. But I will say, Dragon already starts with over 300,000 words in its vocabulary. So we're not starting from scratch and having to add e's, of, the, and, right? It's going to know all that. But the stuff that's really unique to you and your organization is where we would want to add in some vocabulary for you. And something else that I'm about to slip into is something very unique to Dragon. Oh, actually, by the way, when it comes to certain words in Dragon, when it comes to profanity, we've unlocked Dragon's profanity filter for law enforcement. We understand that that might be part of something you need to dictate or document. So we've added over 400 words of profanity. And so we've got you covered on the most part, but I'm sure there's some people that can come up with creative versions of their own that you might need to add in. But another unique feature to Dragon Law Enforcement, specifically the law enforcement version, is plate mode or VIN mode. They both do the same thing. I could tell Dragon enter plate or enter VIN, and it's going to put Dragon into a phonetics only mode. We understand that, especially if you're going to look up a plate in your CAD or your RMS, or if you're going to document a plate, it better be the right plate. And when you're dictating, there nothing beats a phonetic alphabet, right? The whole reason the phonetic alphabet was created was because C sounds like T, sounds like D, sounds like G, sounds like E, sounds like all the same over the phone or over a speaker, right? So to create that kind of uniqueness, there was a phonetic alphabet created. By default, we put in the native phonetic or radio phonetic alphabet. Alpha, Bravo, Charlie, Delta, Echo, Foxtrot. Usually in working with us, we'll add another one in there for Adam, Boyd, Baker, Charles, David, Edward, Frank. But if you decide you use a completely different or just a couple different phonetic alphabets, that's fine. We can add in whatever you want. If you decide you want to do Amaretto, Brandy, Chivas, Di Serono, we won't judge, but we can add that in for you. But however, the whole point is make Dragon work for you. So this phonetic mode, we understand we need to make sure those plates or those VINs are documented correctly, because if it's off by a letter, it could be something that gets popped up on a federal database. You get called and say, hey, do you have this vehicle in front of you? You need to make sure that's accurate. So you'll see that in my next example here of where I'm going to actually describe the attendant and then the vehicle itself. New paragraph, attendant, 6 foot 1 inch, blonde hair, blue eye male. New paragraph. Vehicle, 2011 gray Honda Civic, license plate number sign, enter plate, Delta Golf November 247. End plate, new paragraph. So to create that extra level of accuracy for something really, really matters, for example, any kind of serialized number like a plate or a VIN like this is going to be extremely useful for accuracy's sake. So I simply told Dragon enter plate. It immediately knew to expect phonetics. And then as soon as I'm done, I say end plate, and it's going to put me right back into my regular dictation mode. Another feature here that's actually universal to any version of Dragon is what's called an auto text. I mentioned commands earlier, telling Dragon to to do an action instead of typing the text on your screen. we can devise our own commands, or again, this can be done administratively by a management center administrator, but you can create something called an auto text to insert text automatically. So for example here, let's say you want to insert Miranda rights. Dragon can populate those for you automatically. In my case, maybe I want to put a tip line in here. Insert tip line. Rather than dictating out if you have any information about this crime, you can make an anonymous call to Crime Stoppers. I don't have to do that every single time if the information remains the same. But what if the information changes? Right? Maybe you have a speeding citation that you want to write, but you have to change the speed, the road, or the make or model. New paragraph. Insert tip line. New paragraph. Insert speeding citation. So I wanted to bring up the tip line again just so you could see it wasn't just something that I had preloaded and ready to go. It's whenever I say it, it gets inserted. And then real quickly, I followed it up with a insert speeding citation. You'll see here that I have a couple sets of brackets in here. So you'll see that I have speed, road, make, or model. So all I have to do is fill it out by voice. 88. And because I'm using my power mic, I can press the arrow keys to get to the next field or to the previous field. But I can also say that by voice if I don't have a power mic. Connolly Road, next field, DMC DeLorean. Go to end. New paragraph. Insert DWI. Let's say you even have templated data that you want to fill out. You want to make sure that your users or officers or detectives or deputies or whoever is using the software is including all the right information in their DWI or in their burglary report or whatever type of report. You can create templated information to collect that data for them. In this case, they're just filling out what's necessary. They're going to fill out the case. They're going to go down to the offense and incident and say, driving while intoxicated. And they can move through and fill out the necessary information and really tell the story about what's happening. So what you're seeing right now, this can be done on either on your MDT or MDC, whatever name or acronym that you guys use. It can be done on your mobile phone if you're using in a mobile environment. I'm saying mobile. That could be a tablet or a phone. Size doesn't matter in this case. But in either scenario, you're able to quickly, accurately, and with more detail create reports with your voice. So I know that we're coming up towards the end, and I want to allow time for questions. And the whole point of this demonstration is Dragon is fast. I'm able to create this documentation quickly and accurately. Oftentimes, so that this was something if you did attend the Boulder County demonstrate or Chief Wagner speaking earlier. Something that we were able to do for them is kind of sit down and actually see how they use their CAD, how they use their RMS, where we were even able to create custom commands for them to look up plates by voice. So let us work with you guys on this, go through a pilot with us, making sure that we're going to hit the mark and learn whatever lessons we can through a pilot. And this way you get to see the true power of Dragon. So I wanted to open it up. Do we have any questions out there? Guys, please make sure if you have any questions, please post them in the chat. I must have done a great job in my presentation. So there's not a lot of questions. Please don't be shy, as what was just mentioned by Susan. All right, well, while we're getting any questions in, I didn't get to show you guys how to create an auto text because I get that question a lot. Okay, Tom, you just showed us some fancy commands, but are my officers really going to be able to create that themselves? So in this case here, I just simply go into Dragon, and again, I keep mentioning this. Your administrator, if you have any kind of IT team or help desk or whoever, that can be accomplished on the back end for your officers, but we always give them the ability to do this within the software as well. But I just tell Dragon that I want to add a new auto text. And you're going to see here, when you say, Dragon will enter. So in my case, when you say insert tip line, Dragon will enter, and that's where my tip line text was pasted. So you'll see it doesn't take any kind of computer science degree to learn how to use the software. It's fairly straightforward. You talk, it types, and if you want to create something custom, we'll guide you right through it, letting you know that just this is what you say, and this is what Dragon will enter. And if you do have fields to insert, it's as easy as clicking on the insert field button, or just simply using your bracket keys. So with that, if there's not any further questions, this is really all I have to show you all. Thank you all.